Look! Look! What is it? A Yeti?
Okay, so we're playing with more yarn scraps today, so out comes the chenille yarn because we're going to be making another little yarn scrap monster, but this time, because it's so cold up here in the north and it's full of snow, I thought we would make a little Yeti, a little cute Yeti or Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So for this tutorial, we're going to be using a DK light worsted weight yarn. This is actually a chenille yarn, but you can use any DK light worsted weight yarn that you like. This is a yarn weight of 3, and I've got 3 colours with this type of yarn. I've got the fur colour, horn colour, and a little face colour. And also pick up some thinner black yarn. This is just for the mouth, so a thinner yarn works better. And this is just a sport baby weight cotton yarn. So it's a yarn weight of 2. We're also going to need a little bit of toy stuffing, not this much obviously, pair of scissors, a yarn needle as well, and crochet hook obviously, and this we're going to be using not a 3.5 actually, we're going to be using a 3mm crochet hook. If I can find a 3mm, there we go, 3mm crochet hook. And it's also, if you have available, some little 5mm toy safety eyes as well. But you can use black yarn and tie little knots for eyes if you prefer. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start off with a slip knot. And we're going to do a chain 4 loops. So I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to put our hook into our first chain, bring the yarn through the first chain and straight for the loop on your hook. And you've got a little loop of chains, which in chenille yarn is very difficult to see, but I'll teach you some little tips and tricks. We're going to do a little chain 1 just for leverage, and then we're going to find the center of our 4 chain loops, so just roughly in the middle, put your hook and it should find the center. Bring the yarn through and then just wrapping it around the chains. We're going to work 7 single crochet. So this pattern's in US terms. So work a single crochet. In UK terms, that's a double crochet. So this is in US terms. So we want 7 of those. So that's 1. Go back into the center. 2. 3, 6, and 1 more, 7. So we've got 7 single crochet, and you can pull the tail end if you've carried it to pull any hole closed. And what we're going to do now is we're going to work, we're not going to join the round, we're going to stop there. And I recommend using a stitch marker, especially with a chenille yarn. So let's grab a stitch marker. And we're just going to put a little stitch marker in our work. And then what we're going to do is bring our hook back. And we're going to go straight into the next stitch. And to find the first stitch is you kind of just want to find, with chenille yarn, is a little flat patch there, and that's going to be your first stitch. This is why we're using a slightly thinner hook, smaller hook, because it's a little bit easier to work with chenille yarn. And there we go, we found our first stitch. We're going to work 2 single crochet in each stitch around. So 2 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 and 2. And when you're finding the next stitch in chenille yarn, we're going to stay pretty close to this stitch. And again, you can see the little flat stitch there, like so. And we want 2 single crochet in that stitch, and 2 single crochet in each stitch around until we've got a stitch count of 14, okay? Okay, just coming up to the end, 13 and 14. 2 single crochet in there, 1 and 2. And we know we're back at the beginning because we're in our stitch marker, so we can remove that and add it, move it up. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go straight into the next stitch, and we're going to do 1 single crochet. Again, try and stay close to where your last stitch is worked. So we find that stitch nice and easy. 1 single crochet in the next stitch, then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. 1 and 2. We're going to repeat that all the way around, doing 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, back to the beginning, and we'll have a stitch count of 21. So again, stay close to your last stitch made. You should find the stitch. So 1 single crochet in there, then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. 1 and 2. Okay, just coming up to the last 2 stitches. 1 single crochet in that stitch, then 2 single crochet in our last stitch. 1 and 2. Okay, so move our stitch marker up, and we should now have a stitch count of 21. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to do 2 rounds of just 1 single crochet in each stitch around, keeping a stitch count of 21. So we're just going to count up to 21 twice, okay, for 2 rounds. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And just remember, when working with chenille yarn, you just stay close to your previous stitch you made. You should find every stitch. Okay. 20 and 21. Okay, so just finishing our second round, and hopefully it looks something like this. You still have a stitch count of 21. So if you're counting up to 21 and you're getting extra or not enough stitches, then you've missed one somewhere. Okay, what we're going to do now is going to create the little arms. So we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 5 stitches. So in the first 5. Okay, so 1 single crochet in the first 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 1 single crochet in the first 5, and then we're going to chain 6. Okay, chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, chain 6. We're going to do a slip stitch in our second chain from our hook. So we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first chain, there's our second. So in there we work a slip stitch. And we're going to do a slip stitch in each chain back to the beginning. So it'll be 5 slip stitches in total. So it's 1, 2, and 5. Okay, 5 slip stitches. Now working back on the main body, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 10. So just carry on as normal. Do 1 single crochet in the next 10. So it's 1, 2, 9, and 10. Then we're going to do the second arm. So we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, find that second chain along, 1, 2, and work a slip stitch. I'm going to do 1 slip stitch in the next 5 chains. That's 1, 2, and 1 more, 5. And then we should have 6 stitches left. So we're going to do 1 single crochet in the last 6. And hopefully we'll meet up with that stitch marker. So 1, 2, 5, and 6. Look at the head. Okay, so that's the end of round 6, and you should have some little arms like this. Okay, now what we're going to do, moving on to round 7, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 5 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which should take you up to the arm. And then what we want to do is find the first single crochet we made this side. So we're going to skip the slip stitches and chains. So just to the left of that arm, where that corner is going to be your next single crochet. So we're going to put our hook into there and grab the yarn. And then what we need to do is feed that little arm to the front. So just bring up a loop, pop it to the front. Then tighten your loops and then finish that single crochet. And there should be 10 stitches in between the arms. So that's going to be our first one. So one single crochet in the next 10. So 1, 2, 3, 9. Okay, so I've gone wrong somewhere. So there should be 10 stitches in between. So I'm going to feed it back because maybe I've missed it. Back to this side. So I'm going to leave this mistake in because it's really important, because sometimes I might have gone into this stitch when actually that single crochet is right on the corner. So I'm going to try that again, because working with chenille yarn is not easy. You do get used to it though. Okay, so this will be our first one. So 1, let's try again now, keeping close to our last stitch worked. 2, 9, and 10. So we did it this time. So we just missed that little stitch. Okay. So don't try not to get too stressed with it. Just relax. Okay, now we're going to skip the second arm and we should have 6 stitches remaining. So again, I'm going to stay closer rather than going here. I think that's a mistake I made last time. I think that single crochet is there. So we're going to put my hook there, bring up a loop and get that arm to the front. Okay, tighten our yarn, and then it should be 1 single crochet in the last 6. So 1, 2, 5, and 6. Okay, that's great. We did it. Okay, then we can move our stitch marker up and move on to round 8. And round 8, we're just doing a 1 single crochet in each stitch around, keeping a stitch count of 21. So we're just going to count up to 21. Okay, so I should do that, then I shall come back. Okay, 1 and 21. Okay, so we just did 1 round of 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And actually I had to do my stitch marker up because it fell out, but thankfully I was counting, so I knew where it was supposed to be. Okay, so hopefully you got something that looks like this. I was playing yarn chicken, so I've run out of yarn, but I have a few more of the same colour scraps. So all I'm going to do now is also show you how to join a yarn. So all I'm doing to join the yarn is tying it together. I'm going to put the right side over the left side to begin for our first knot, and then the left side over the top of the right side for our second knot. And what that does, by alternating, it doesn't come undone very easily. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to leave the little bits on because they'll just be stuffing on the inside, and I'll show you how to hide that on the inside. Okay, moving on to the next round, round 9, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 7 stitches this time, the first 7. So 1 single crochet in the first 7. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we've reached our knot. So what I'm going to do for number 6 is I put my hook in the next stitch. I'm going to grab the yarn from this side of the knot and bring that through, but I'm going to keep that knot on the inside. Then I'm going to grab the fresh yarn on the left side of the knot to finish my single crochet, and that just keeps all the knot and tassel ends on the inside. 6 and 7 for our final one, and we've got a nice neat join. And we're going to create this little foot by just chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to slip stitch in the same stitch as that previous single crochet. Okay. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 6, and 7. And we do the same thing again. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to slip stitch in the same stitch as our previous single crochet. Try and keep the working yarn to the left so it doesn't twist around your chains. Slip stitch in there. Then we should have 7 stitches left, so we do 1 single crochet in the last 7. So 1, 2, 6 and 7. And if you don't have enough stitches, then you may have just skipped one along the way. Usually you skip stitches by accident with chenille yarn. Okay, so we're going to move our stitch marker up, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to pause our work here. Just going to stop there so it's a little bit easier for sewing. And the first thing we're going to do is going to make his horns. So we're going to get some of our grey silvery yarn, and for the horns we're just going to chain 6. Okay, so it's nice and easy. Chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then we're going to cut our yarn, pull that through. Okay, and we've got a little line of chains, a little chain worm. We're going to get our yarn needle, and all we're going to do is, making sure the feet are at the front, we're going to just about 2 rows down, we're just going to feed each end to the inside. So feed it onto the other tail end and put that through in the same position. Bring that through to the inside as well, and then we're just going to pull it down like so, and then we're going to turn him inside out, and then we're just going to tie a knot on the inside. Then we can just leave our tail ends for stuffing on the inside, and that's his little horn like so. We're just going to repeat that for the opposite side. Okay, so I should do that and then come back. We can hide all these tail ends on the inside. Okay, so we go, finish his other little horn, and what we're going to do now is make his face. So for his face, we're going to get a lighter brown or a cream yarn, even white yarn, whatever you prefer. It's a different colour to the fur. And we're going to start off with a chain 4. So we're just going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 4. We're going to do 2 single crochet in our second chain from our hook. So we don't count the loop on our hook. First chain, second chain. We do 2 single crochet in there. So 1 and 2. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next chain. And it's a good idea just to work under 1 loop of yarn, because we need to work into these chains again. And then the last chain should have 1 left, 2 single crochet. Work 2 single crochet into there, 1 and 2. Then we're going to turn our work clockwise. That is clockwise, isn't it? Yeah. And work into these chains again. So we're going to go back into the same one we just worked and work another 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Then in the middle chain, so we can't really see, but you can just about see some little dark dots. So 1, 2, 3. So that one in the middle is our central chain. In there we work 1 single crochet. Then in the last chain here we work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Okay, then we're just going to find our first single crochet somewhere over here and slip stitch into there. She finds it 10 hours later. There we go. Slip stitch into there. So we have something that looks like this, and we're going to cut our yarn, leave a little bit of tail end for sewing, and we're just going to pull that loop through. But before we sew it onto the face, we're going to add the eyes. Now you can either use little knots, little black knots like I do in my other videos, or because we've got 3 chains, they're perfect for just adding little safety eyes like this. So we're going to add 1 in the chain at the end, either end. So 1 over here. But before, it's like a little spider, before we add the backing, we're going to feed these ends into the head. Okay, so you want it about here, so find a stitch on the body, push that in, and then the same for this side. Make sure it's on the same line, like so, Okay, and now these backings are on the inside, and just make sure you're happy with the layout. Make sure it's even between the feet. Turn it inside out, and then you can add the backings. Okay. Like so. Okay, so there we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use this tail end and just neaten off and sew this down. So the first thing I'm going to do though is get this smaller tail end and just sew it to the inside. So I'm just going to feed it roughly onto the inside. Okay, so that's out of the way. And then taking the longer tail end, I'm going to sew this onto the body. And what I like to do is to sew over by a stitch and then sew to the back. You will find that the eyes, safety eyes, are in the way, so you're just going to have to move them out of the way. That comes to the inside. Then we're going to come up from the back through the next stitch like this. And then we go over to the next stitch and down on the inside. And just repeat that all the way around, keeping this coloured yarn only on the face, so it's not going to show up. Okay, up through the back, then over to the next stitch. Okay. Okay, once you've done that, we're just going to put the rest of the tail end in for stuffing. And you can either leave it like that or give him a little mouth. So for his mouth, we're going to get that thinner yarn, if you remember, and cut a little bit of that. We're just going to tie a couple of knots in the end. Maybe even just one knot is enough. Thread that onto our needle, and then coming up from the inside, we're just going to sew on a mouth somewhere. That knot should catch on the inside. I don't know how this is going to look. There we go, it looks a little bit crazy. Maybe I neaten this up off camera a little bit and give him a bit of a bigger smile. I don't know, maybe he's just cute like that. Maybe we leave him. Okay, so all that's left to do now is we're going to just rejoin our main project. And we're going to decrease. So we're going to start off with one single crochet in the next stitch. Then we're just going to single crochet 2 stitches together. So we go into the next stitch, then into the next stitch, then pull through all 3 to single crochet those 2 together. Repeat that all the way around. I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, then single crochet 2 together. And of course we have little feet, so we need to skip the feet and the tiny slip stitch and find the next stitch. This one is just one by itself, and then push the foot forward, the chains forward, pull, do your 1 single crochet, and then carry on single crochet 2 together. Then over to the other foot. Single crochet by itself, single crochet 2 together, single crochet by itself. And then we need to find that next stitch over here, bring the yarn through, because this is a decrease, go into the next stitch as well, bring the yarn through, but we have to, between these first 2 loops, we need to bring the chains forward, and then we can pull through all 3. So our foot is at the front. Okay, continuing up to the end, 1 single crochet 2 together, 1 single crochet, and then single crochet the last 2 together. Okay, so our stitch count should have gone down to 14. And just going to move our stitch marker up. Not that it really matters at this point. And before we finish our last round, we're just going to get a little bit of toy stuffing if we have any space left, and give him some stuffing. Okay, once you finish stuffing, we're just going to single crochet 2 together all the way around until we got a stitch count of 7. So just single crochet the next 2 together, single crochet the next 2 together, so on and so forth. $13 and $14, our last decrease. Okay, we have a small hole remaining. We're just going to cut our yarn, leave a little tail for sewing, pull that loop through, and then getting our yarn needle, we're just going to draw strings, sew close the end by going into the next stitch and out the next stitch. Give it a little pull, and repeat that all the way around, into the next stitch, out through the next stitch. Give it a little pull, and eventually that hole will close. Then all that's left to do is just to hide your tail end. And there we go. We have finished. I left his mouth as it was because that was his personality. That's made him who he is. So, or she is, I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Hope you managed to follow along. It's a really fun way of using up little yarn scraps to make a little wintry Yeti or Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him, little monster. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hope you managed to follow along. A huge thank you, as always, to our YouTube channel members and our Happy Brave Plus members for helping make these videos possible. And I will see you soon for some more crochet crafting fun. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share and comment and all that jazz. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, ever.